Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. You're listening to the podcast of two dads going through the journey of fatherhood with all of you listening. And Brandon, it has been a chaotic week since the last time we've talked. I feel like a ton has happened. We actually were just talking about it a little bit, but how are you, my friend?
You know, it's been a weird week, but Happy New Year, first of all, to you, the listeners out there. It definitely has been a weird week. Bryce is on like a strike with me and sleep. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I agree. It's been weird, but we're pushing through. It's 2023.
2023. That's pretty crazy. We started this podcast back in 2021. So we're 2023.
We did.
And we need the first dad joke of 2023. Do you want to have it or do you want to have me do it?
You know what, Jerry? I'll do it. And I got two different ones because today we're talking about naps and nap time. And so I have two nap-related jokes, one of which I think may have been said already, but I couldn't remember. We go. So we'll, whatever. So the first one, why was the child's blanket arrested?
I don't know.
For being an accessory to kidnapping. It's topical. Come on. The next one, this is one I think may have been said already.
Okay.
But Jerry, if a child is refusing a nap, are they refusing arrest? Or resisting arrest? Excuse me?
That one was slightly better, but you messed up the delivery. All right, don't worry, folks. I got one later in the episode that's going to be great. I'm sorry. Those are the two.
Okay, come on
jokes.
Now. Come on. The topic is naps, and I gave you two nap dad jokes. Are you?
What I'm more impressed about through all this, Brandon, is that we have done 60 some episodes through. Now this is our third year, technically, a calendar year. And we've not talked about naps as a topic. That's just mind blowing to me because
that is pretty.
Anyone out there,
that was surprising.
Yeah, anyone out there who's a dad knows that naps is one of the most important things in your entire life. But
it's super clutch when they work.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do that, what's been going on with Bryce? You kind of gave us a tidbit that maybe he's striking against dad. So what's going on there?
So. There specifically, it seems that, so first of all, Kelsey was off for like 11 days straight. So he got a ton of solo mom time. And then this time, I feel like it coincided with just like a bunch of like development. He just naturals at that age where every day is a little bit different. But I know she was working on him with certain stuff. But in this time, he said dad more than any other point. Like on the surface, when I'm home and he's awake and not sleepy, I mean, our relationship couldn't get better. I got home today, and Kelsey opened the front door. Riley ran out to greet me in the front yard, super excited. And then I walk up to the door. Bryce, like, just pictures a baby deer running, prancing through the grass. He ran. He bounded towards the door, looked at me, let out a big scream, said, "Daddy." I mean, it could not have been better than that. It was like a
awesome.
greeting from my dreams when I had a kid. It was great. But all that's great during the day. The moment that kid is ready to go to sleep, we've had to trick him. Like earlier in the week, Kelsey basically was like, I stay away completely. She's staying downstairs. I take him upstairs. Normally, the nighttime, what we do is, if you're the one who's like putting him to bed, then the other person will like change his diaper, get stuff ready, get like the tubby tied on his cheeks if he needs and stuff like that, while the other person like reads him a bedtime story. Well, it's like none of that, leave me out of it. And the reason is because if she's in the room and leaves, he freaks out completely, like crying, inconsolable. Like I've never seen him cry like this before. Now, right now he does have 2 teeth coming in. But it seems like mom at night is the only person who can keep him like sane. So we've tried that a couple times. It worked once, but I mean, I'm like 1 for 6 in the past 6 attempts, and the kid just, I mean, I've never seen him cry like this before, and it gets to the point where pretty much I sing yesterday, to give you an example. I went from singing our typical routine songs to Disney songs to old church songs. I start singing Negro spirituals at the end of this
Did you start singing some?
I'm not joking.
Some hip hop songs. You said that you listened to some hip hop when he was in the womb, so maybe you need to hit him with some hip hop to soothe him.
Man, he might need that. I don't know. I tried literally everything. I went down every road possible. I was like trying to oversing his cries.
Maybe he just doesn't like your singing.
Nothing worked. That's highly doubtful. But so we've been going through that. So dads out there, if you're going through that, I feel your pain, because it is like it is kind of a deflating feeling to try everything you got, and then so she'll like text me halfway through because she knows that it annoys me. She knows it annoys me that like it takes her to come in, but it just like needs to happen at the point that he gets. But she comes in there, he sees her, he kind of already stops crying a little bit, and then you look up like it's kind of weird. I shouldn't say this. It's gonna be kind of salty. It's almost like you be rooting against them when they come in and kind of tap in. I'm like, I really hope this kid. I really hope this kid like just gives you the business right now. But it never happens like that. And so she's able to get him down, and like everything's fine in line. Last couple things, his grandparents purchased like the pickler triangle. They came over, set it all up. It's nothing better as a dad. Then you always hear like I won't say horror stories, but Christmas Day is really dad just putting stuff together, that and the next day. I mean, this was probably the most intensive thing to put together. It's like a 10-foot long wooden slide and climbing tool. They came over, put it together after they bought it. Pretty clutch. And he's walking around saying cracker and cookie. Those are two new words that he's learned this week with context, amongst other ones, but those are the ones that are jumping out right now. So that's my long-winded week.
I like it.
What you guys been up to?
Well, it's funny you brought that story, because legitimately, probably, I don't know, about an hour ago now, we had the exact same situation, but it was flipped. Macy was supposed to work till 11 tonight, but she got home at like 8 o'clock. She got low census, so she got to leave a few hours early from the hospital. And she got home, and since she just got home, I was like, hey, do you want to try putting Peyton down? I always put Peyton down. And she's like, yeah. And so she went to try to put her down, and I started eating. All of a sudden, she pops her head out because our nursery's upstairs, and she goes, I might have to tap you in on this one. Sure enough, I go in there 5 minutes later, Peyton's asleep. So Macy can probably commiserate with you. She's got about the opposite.
She was rooting against you.
In fairness to Macy, it's probably similar to Bryce. But I think it like is almost like Peyton's different with it. When she has mom, she doesn't want to go to sleep. She wants mom to be with her. She doesn't want mom to leave. When dad's got her, she's like, okay, I can chill. I can go to sleep. This is cool. So I don't really think it's because like I have some magic touch. I honestly think because when mom's there and mom leaves, she freaks out. But if dad's got her, it's like, I can go to sleep now.
Yeah, I think Kelsey has a magic touch right now. We have fun during the day. He loves me. Doesn't cry. He can. I'm the person to tap in if he's whining during the day. Me and him go hang out in the basement. He's fine, no crying or anything like that. But
I like it.
Lord have mercy, that kid is not like going to bed when I'm trying to put him to bed.
So Brandon, this week a lot of things have happened. I think Peyton, she just has so much growth at this stage, and she's learning so much. But the one thing I kind of realized today, and I've thought this for a long time, but today especially, is I am raising a weird kid. She's the best, but she is so freaking weird.
Well, you're a weird guy yourself, Jason.
Yeah, I am, but it's funny. Just today alone, and I was only home a couple hours after work before she went to bed, but she, at one point in time, had her little tray that goes on like her little high chair, and she's carrying it, crawling around with it balanced on her head. One hand holding on her head, trying to crawl. Then she's putting it on the dog's head, cracking herself up. Then she goes to grabbing her pacifier and her little ice cream scoop and like banging them together like it's music and cracking up about it over and over again. And I sent you a picture of this. Her new thing is she'll grab her little chair that she sits in. She'll drag it into the kitchen, like not where it's at, like drag it into the kitchen. She'll sit in this chair and like lounge and sit there for like 10, 15 minutes. Which
it looked like she was contemplating like how the universe was created. That
I,
picture you sent me.
I sent the picture to Macy while she was at work, and
It was mood.
she goes, she just is missing a cigarette. That's what it looked like. She was like, it was the end of a hard day, and but that's what she does. She like lounges in this chair.
Look
by
how
herself.
we felt when we left work today.
I was cracking.
That's
Like,
crazy.
this kid's goofy, man, but she's funny. I will tell you some exciting news, Brandon. So I've told you for a long time she can stand. She walks along everything, but she has zero interest in walking. Right? Doesn't want anything to do with it. Well, I think last week on the podcast I told you she's finally starting to show some interest. The other day she was leaning against me and I kind of moved away, and she took a few steps. Yep. And then I told Macy about it, and she did it again. And then when she went to her Grammy's house, she took 3 steps the other day too. So she's taken 2 to 3 steps, probably 7 or 8 times now.
It's about to explode.
Yeah, so she's starting to get it. She's definitely showing interest. The hard part is she does not want you to make her do it. She has to like basically decide she wants to do it herself. But the good news is she is deciding that a lot more frequently. Like if she's leaning on something and she wants to go somewhere, she'll try taking a few steps. But if you try to stand her up or try to get her to do it, she's like, nah. So we're getting there. But that was super exciting. It was the first of the year.
By this time next week, we're going to be recording. She's going to be walking.
I think we're very close. But it was literally New Year's Day.
It exploded with Bryce.
Yeah, New Year's Day is when she started. The other thing too, Brandon, and we talked about last week, is my piece of baby gear was that little box, the Tonys, where you put the people on it and they sing. And I told you that we got it and I thought it was cool or whatever, and we were playing with it. But I legitimately did not think that Peyton would like comprehend how to use it. I thought we'd be using it with her until she got older. No, she 1000% understands how this thing works. She will go, like today, she was doing it. She would go grab them, she'd put it on top, have it play, and then she'd switch it to a different one. And she kept doing it. And then she would she wants to figure things out. She'd knock the box over and see if it would work other places. And she'd go, okay, this doesn't work. Put it back to where it's supposed to go. Put it back in the spot where it is. And then dance to the music. It's like, I can't believe she could figure all this out. I was like,
you showed me a video. She literally knows how to use it. And
yeah,
I mean, that's what's so great about the stage she's at, the stage Bryce is at. You are literally, I think I've said this every episode for the last 4 weeks, but we are watching them just figure stuff out. And it's not just figure stuff out, it's figure out how to figure stuff out, if that makes sense, which is, I don't know. It's amazing to watch.
It is. And then what's really cool, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, but seeing their faces when they have the realization of figuring something out. You can tell it, they're like, oh, I just figured that out. That's awesome. I know how to do that now. And they get that look on their face. Peyton figured out how to hit the button to make her Barbie dream car make noise. And then she looked at you and hey, I know how to do this. And actually my piece of baby gear today, I'll go over in a minute, is kind of the same thing. But the last thing about our week is tomorrow is Macy's birthday. So we're going to hopefully have a nice day there. But Peyton will get to spend the day with Mom because Mom's off work. So that will be a nice little day for those two. So that's exciting. For Macy's birthday, she'll probably get mad at me for saying this, but she's 27, but she tells me that's still her mid-20s. So I don't know if that counts or not, but she says mid-20s. She's younger than both of us. So
happy birthday, Macy. Macy's the person who literally remembers everybody else's birthday and has it memorized.
Yes, she is.
It's crazy.
So, but speaking of baby gear, Brandon, what piece of baby gear do you have before I go into mine?
So I was talking to Kelsey about what baby gear because this kid has everything I should go over. And I don't think I ever brought this up, but since he was about 5 or 6 months, he has had a toy that he consistently plays with every single day. And it is without question his favorite toy. And it's the Skip Hop 3-stage developmental learning crawl toy. It's basically a bee it's a couple different things this bee does. The bee is kind of a standalone thing, has little handles on it. So the kid loves anything shaped like a ball that he can spin. And when he was a kid, or I'm saying he was a kid, when he was like a baby,
when he was a kid,
6 months old, he was this bee is almost what if you see Bryce now, he loves hitting balls around a room. But this bee, he would hit it. And because it has little handles on either side, when he hit it, it would spin and kind of go around in a circle and a lot of times come back to him. So that was the part he loved the most. Then as he started to get a little older, it has a bass to it that once you put the B back on top of it, it makes a little song, and then it'll actually like move around the room in like a figure eight motion. So it's something. The point is for like kids to chase after it and learn how to crawl. But I mean, all I hear is that noise all day long of him walking over, pulling the B out. When you pull it off of the bass, the thing just spins around and makes the same noise. And he just loves it. He'll put it back on there. He'll watch it. He'll follow it around the house, and he's figured out basically how to make it go wherever he wants. So that's definitely, I mean, for a toy to get basically a year's worth of work of consistent play is pretty good in my book.
Yeah, that is pretty good for sure. My piece of baby gear, Brandon, kind of goes with my theme is, and it's not a specific toy or a piece of gear, but basically we have some books, and I'm sure you probably do too, but they're like the books where they have like the side and they have like buttons where the kid can push the buttons and it plays like a little song. And like there's Disney ones and there's the different princesses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Peyton has discovered, like I said, she's getting smart, how to hit those buttons and play the different songs, and she loves music. So she'll hit it and she'll start dancing. The funny part, though, is anyone who knows those books, they're not super techie, right? So you have to hit it just right. So she gets so mad when she's like hitting it and it's not playing because she's hitting the wrong spot of the circle. So it is kind of funny. Or she's hitting it and then she wants to play a different one and it's not done playing the first song. So, but she loves it now. So she always loves books. But the last few times I've taken her into her room, including today, she's literally gone and grabbed that book, sat down, and started hitting the buttons. So it's become her favorite book. And she probably has well over 200 books in her room. So it's not like...
Wow.
Yeah. So
I thought we had a lot of books.
So I've been packing them for the move, so I know how many books she has. But she loves those. So if you can go out and buy books like that, at first I was like, she doesn't even care about these, but now she's into it and it's really cool. She likes it. It has fun. And instead of grabbing 1,000 books like she normally likes to do, she likes to play with that one for a while. So that's cool. And then also really quickly, a thing my wife said this week, right before we recorded, actually, Brandon, I said, "Hey, Macy, I'm going to record. Is there anything we should go over?" She goes, "Yeah. Tell Brandon that we've discovered Miss Rachel and I kind of hate it."
Yes.
So she turned it on the other day, and she said that Peyton, she's like, "I hate how infatuated Peyton was with it." Because Peyton doesn't normally pay attention to the TV. Like, she likes the music, and then she like goes elsewhere. But apparently, she was watching it, so she might be a fan just like Bryce is. I haven't seen it yet, but
Miss Rachel is slightly annoying for parents, slightly funny if you have a sense of humor, because she be saying some crazy stuff just in context. But the kids seem to love it, and I feel like they're actually learning something.
That's what Macy said. She goes, "I feel like she's actually learning." So that's why we're starting to do it, because now that she's picking up on more, we want to make sure that what we're watching and what's going on in the background is actually educational as opposed to just noise or music. So she did get her first dose of Miss Rachel. Dad did not watch Miss Rachel with her tonight. He put Lion Guard on in the background, which is kind of entertaining. It's like the Lion
Guard. What is that?
It's like Simba's and Nala's kids in a cartoon.
Huh.
So
Kelsey is diametrically opposed to the Lion King, just for the record.
Okay.
That movie scarred her as a kid.
No pun intended.
I didn't even realize I did that. That's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
And we know that was high on my Disney list.
I love
so
Lion
we'll have
King.
to see where Bryce goes. But the whole Mufasa scene.
Mufasa.
That gets to her. She probably shouldn't listen to this part, because she might start crying on the way to work when she's listening to this tomorrow. I'm sure I'm about to get a text. Put your phone down, Kelsey.
Don't do it to James Earl Jones.
Yeah, there we go.
I like it. But
let's get to the topic.
Let's do it, Brandon. This week we're talking about naps. So, like we said earlier, anyone who's a parent out there, you know that naps are super, super important from the pretty much when they're born until I don't know when it ends, because our kids are both over 1 and it's still super important. At some point in time, I'm sure it is, but they're hugely important. And they're important for lots of reasons. One, because your kid needs them. It's good for them, for their growth, their development, all that kind of stuff. It's also good because it keeps them on schedule and it helps you plan your days. And lastly, it's probably great because it allows you to breathe and get some stuff done around the house. So,
Amen.
yeah, naps can be your best friend, but they can also be your worst enemy, as you know, Brandon, because if they don't go well, or if your kid is refusing, it can be a nightmare because not only is that period of time now ruined, but also probably the hours afterwards. Because if you miss a nap or a nap doesn't go well, kids can turn into little demons. So we're going to talk about kind of schedules, tips, tricks, and different things associated with naps. So Brandon, I'll kick it off. I'll start with kind of the first stage, if you will, like when your baby is first born. Basically, your baby is going to nap every half an hour to 45 minutes. So, and I don't even know if you call that a nap at that point in time.
They're asleep
but
all
basically,
the time.
Yeah, they're asleep all the time. They're sleeping regularly. There's not a specific number you're supposed to hit at that age. They're basically supposed to sleep every half an hour to an hour. And the one interesting thing about newborns or 0 to 2 months is that their bedtime actually is usually later in life because they don't quite know the difference between day and night at that point in time. So a lot of times you'll put them down kind of when you go to bed and have naps in between, and then they're probably going to have to get up multiple times during the night at first because they're going to need to feed. So your nap schedule at that point in time isn't you don't have to be too intuitive. Basically, they're going to go to sleep when they go to sleep, right? And you're going to want them to go to sleep when they can go to sleep. So the first few months, it's not really you doing much when it comes to nap time, other than maybe you putting them down for their final bedtime, like I said, usually around 10 p.m. or sometime when you're going to sleep. So that's kind of the first stage. Brandon, I don't know if you want to click on the next stage, which is pretty much when you first start introducing actual naps.
Exactly. And as we start talking about time frame, keep in mind you can look at one article. It's give or take a month or two as far as the ranges are concerned. But I'm going to kind of talk about that next stage. But one thing to pay attention to as you start introducing naps that's as important as the nap is the wake window. So a wake window is basically how long a baby can stay awake before needing the next nap. So with that, as you start introducing those when they're younger in like the 5 to 7 month range, because actually I'd probably say 4 to 7 month range, that wake window is going to be 2 to 3 hours. As they get a little bit older, 7 to 10, you're in the 2.5 to 3.5 hour range. And keep in mind with all these, you also need to pay attention to the sleep cues of your kid. Obviously, Jerry and I have done research, and we've lived it, but nothing can tell you what you're about your kid better than your kid themselves. 11 to 14 month range, which is where Jerry is now and where we're just coming out of, is 3 to 4 hour wake window. So they start extending. And then as you get a little bit older in the 14 month to 2 year range is 4 to 6 hours. And that's when you're leaning more towards going down to one nap. I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder a little bit.
No, I think you kind of hit on that. Like you said, that kind of. So once you get past those first few months, you start going to about 3 to 4 naps a day, and then
Exactly.
And then really what's going to happen, and again, every kid's a little bit different, but around 6 to 9 months, you go from 3 naps to 2 naps typically, is when they're going to start doing their 2 naps, and then 14 to 18 months is about when you look to cut down to 1 nap. And every kid's a little bit different, but you'll start to realize, hey, they're awake longer or they're not going down for these naps. So, Brandon, you hit on it, sleep cues. That's a big thing to look for. What are sleep cues? So, yawning, scratching their eyes or grabbing their eyes a lot, rubbing them. They start to, become a little bit more lethargic, moving around less. They get maybe a little bit cranky. Different sleep cues like that. That's when you know, okay, it's nap time. So when it's nap time, what does that mean? Well, that means you should probably have a routine, and you should stick to that routine. What do you do? Do you read them a story? Do you rock them, put them to bed? What is your procedure to get them ready for a nap? Is it changing their diaper? And then, like I said, you hold them for a little bit. Whatever it is, trying to keep a consistent routine, and you want to start kind of when those cues start to hit. and then you want to follow those wake windows as well. Does that make sense what I'm saying, Brandon?
Yeah, for sure. And with that, the key for Kelsey and I, and kind of the research backed us up on that, is you set up a routine for when you're putting them to bed at night. You want to keep it pretty consistent and make it almost a shortened version of that routine when you're putting them down for a nap. So if you use a sound machine, use a sound machine. If you sing them a couple songs before you put them down, maybe sing them one song. I found in our experience that nap time is a lot easier of a process to get Bryce down. It's there. I really don't encounter a ton of fighting with the naps. Now, keep in mind, I'm putting him down for naps at much less than like my parents are, even Kelsey, because of the schedule that I work. But generally, it hasn't been an issue. And what we do at home is basically the same thing that we do for naps at night. So we put him in a sleep sack. In the beginning, we actually changed him into more comfortable clothes if he had like a full outfit on. It hasn't really mattered as of late. We put him down. Sometimes we most of the time we put him down to sleep sack, but sometimes we kind of put him down as he is. Hasn't really affected it. But we are at the point now, you kind of mentioned this, of where we're going down to one nap. So he's primarily, and it's been like this for a couple of weeks, a one nap per day toddler. But that is sometimes, it depends on his behavior during the day. Because you can tell, like even a couple of days ago, the full plan was to just put him down for his normal one nap. It got to about 3:30, 4 o'clock. He was cranky, and he had eaten. That was not an issue. Put him down for a quick 30-minute nap. He was great for the rest of the day. So it's not like you set up he's only going to take one nap and you don't let him take another nap. Mm-hmm. Pay attention to your kid. But the other key thing is you want them to wake up 2 to 2.5 hours before their bedtime at least. That way, we talked about wake windows a little bit earlier. You have a wake window that's long enough to where they're actually going to be tired by the time you're supposed to put them down.
Yeah. So you mentioned kind of going down to one nap. Actually, we have most of the time Peyton takes 2 naps, but we do occasionally have Peyton take 1 nap. And again, it's knowing your kid. But if she sleeps in longer than normal, because sometimes she'll sleep in late in the morning. So if she sleeps into 8:30, 9, we will try to do 1 nap because 2 naps becomes difficult with like her bedtime and stuff. But again, it's knowing your kid and then seeing how, and if she takes a short nap, that first nap, we know we're going to put her down for another one. But if she takes a good nap, then we know that we can get away with 1. But most of the time it's 2. But on that same topic is when you are doing naps, it will depend on how many you're doing a day, how long they're probably going to be asleep. So when you're doing 3 to 4 naps or 3 naps a day, it's going to be shorter periods oftentimes. You're not taking 3 2-hour naps typically. They're taking 3 30-minute to 45-minute, sometimes an hour naps. And then you go to 2 naps, and then they might be an hour to 2, depending on, their age. And then when you go to 1 nap, it can be 2 hours plus. So, the when you go down in frequency of naps, it does tend to increase the duration, which is expected, but that's something to pay attention to as well. Some successful tips to successful naps is you want to make sure you get them. Like I
like that, Jerry. Yes, successful tips to successful naps.
Correct. You want to get their body kind of used to the clock you want them to be used to. So when are they waking up at a regular time? Are they going to sleep at a regular time? Are they taking naps at consistent times? That's important to have successful naps because their body gets kind of on that clock. Also, like we mentioned before, looking for sleep cues and knowing when they're ready to go to sleep. The other thing is they tell you not to wake your child from a nap. That can actually be damaging if your kid's taking a nap and then you wake them up. It can mess up, their schedule and also can mess up their ability to sleep throughout naps later on. So that's important too. If you do have issues with bedtime, another tip, if you do any kind of sleep training, is just do the exact same thing with naps that you do with bedtime. You can't do it one time and not the other. And you can't do it and then your people that watch the baby not do it as well. So having consistency with the caregivers and also with bedtime and naps need to be treated pretty much the same, like you said, Brandon. If it's dark at bedtime, it should probably be dark during nap time. If you have a sound machine, have the sound machine. So that consistency is definitely key. And that's a thing for us too, is it's important to we found it was very important to make sure that we were treating it the same, because sometimes with naps, when we first started doing sleep training, we would give up on naps quickly. And then it was like, well, are we teaching her that it's different now? Like, it didn't make a lot of sense. So then we kind of switched back, and it worked out well for us.
Yeah, and a couple things in that regard. Bryce occasionally will wake up prematurely from his nap. So we kind of have in our minds an idea of how long we want him to sleep, which we went over time frames to expect earlier. We've had really good success just going into his nursery, rocking him back to sleep and putting him back down. And I wouldn't be afraid to do that as well. Now, you may hit a certain period of time where that it doesn't make sense if they've been asleep for too long. But normally that happens before like the 40-minute range for us. And then the last big tip I have is if you can, I would plan. We're just coming out the holiday season. I would plan visits. I would plan holiday parties. I would plan get-togethers with friends if you're hosting around your kids' nap times. A lot of times as new dads and new parents, we get together because we want to see each other's kids and people want to see our kids. I think it's good, and part of the reason we're bringing this up is because you want to set your kid up to be the best version of themselves as well. And that may mean you're a little selfish from a timing perspective. Maybe you're only out for 2 to 3 hours because that's the wake window that they operate at best. But one thing that I was surprised with over this holiday season, and I think one thing we do need to give our kids a little bit of credit for, is their ability to adapt as well. We changed up Bryce's nap schedule to fit a specific holiday party, and then the very next day we traveled on the road. Basically, we were 6 hours on the road there and back because of weather. And I mean, he handled it like a champ, was in a great mood pretty much the entire time. So obviously, if you can schedule around your kid's nap schedule, but I do think that a lot of times they're more flexible than we may even give them credit for.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we discovered was, early on we didn't want to be those people that were like tied to just a schedule, but you kind of have to be to a degree. And I think though when you say the word schedule, for us it wasn't always a specific time of day. It was more about those wake windows. We found that out with naps. If she was up, if she needed 3 hours from when she woke up to when she needed a nap, it was 3 hours regardless when she woke up. And once we kind of figured out what those windows were, it really helped us. And there's apps out there that can help you with stuff like this, like the Huckleberry app and different things. There's a Napper app. We've talked about that in the past.
Great.
The Napper app actually helped us a lot when we were struggling for a minute with naps, because, it let us see like, okay, this is how long she's been asleep for. This is her wake windows. This is when she should be looking based on her age to be going to sleep again. And then it kind of helped us discover what her wake windows were and when we needed to look for her to go to sleep. And then we didn't need the app anymore. But it was good at the beginning for us to discover that. So again, having a schedule, but also knowing your kid and knowing what to look for is very, very important. Another thing that's important, Brandon, is your kid's going to go through weird things, whether they're sick, they're teething, or the dreaded word regressions. There are sleep regressions, and it is going to mess with not only bedtime, but also it's going to mess with nap time. Just so you guys know, the most common regressions are at 4 months, at 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, and 18 months. So it doesn't mean your kid's going to have all of them.
Don't tell me that. Right there. I thought I was out of it.
No, 18's a bad one from what I've heard too, Brandon. I mean, they're all bad ones. Peyton definitely went through one at I want to say she had one at 9 months. It was 8 or 9 months. It was pretty bad. And then we thought she was going through one at 12.
We dealt with 9 months too.
Yeah, and then at 12 months she kind of did, but it wasn't that bad. That one wasn't that bad for us. But everyone will tell you this is the worst one. It depends on your kid, but the point is it's gonna happen probably. And just to be prepared for it and to not freak out like my kid forgot how to nap. No, they might be going through regression. If you're doing everything the same, keep doing it the same, because eventually your kid will get back on their schedule and everything will be back to being fine and normal.
What were those months again, Jerry? Because I feel like you said after 4 months, you said like basically every doggone month.
No, 4, 6,
8, 9, 10, 11,
12, and
I got peas, green,
18.
potatoes, tomatoes.
Yeah, Peyton was an 8 though. I think she was 9. I think that's part of the reason. Like I think they say it's like around an 8 month, but hers was more like 9 months. I think.
Basically, after 6 months, prepare not to sleep is what he's telling you.
They'll go through them, but naps are, like I said, there's apps out there to help you with it. But it is important, especially like I said, if you have different people watching your kid, making sure that they're following that schedule, because they can throw everything out of whack. And I will tell you, and yes, Brandon, kids are adaptable to a degree, but if Peyton misses a nap or doesn't nap well, you know instantly. It's like you can't like defeat it. You can't like beat the system. Like if she woke up early from a nap, or we couldn't get her down. So the last time she slept was 1 o'clock, and now it's 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. She's gonna be cranky. It's inevitable. So even if she's being like a good cranky, she's still cranky. So it's if you don't have the naps, they don't get that sleep time. It's tough. And the one other thing I will say too, and they all say this, but if they don't nap well, a lot of times they don't go down well at night. It's not like, oh, they should be extra tired. They're just going to go right to sleep.
Nope,
no, it does not work that way.
It's the dreaded word I hate.
Correct. Peyton is worse, for sure. I always thought that was dumb and not logical. Like, oh, she should be more tired. No. She would be way more fussy than if she had slept good throughout the whole day. So, plus if they're cranky, they get themselves worked up. And then it's even, it's harder to get them in that calm mode that they need to be in to go to sleep. So you definitely want to try to have some kind of schedule and make sure they're getting enough sleep too, because it's important. It's important for growth too. Let's just talk about that. I mean, if kids don't get the sleep, they're not getting the growth that they need from a health standpoint.
Exactly.
For sure. Anything else to add on naps, Brandon?
I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, I don't know how much. I feel like we just went really in depth there for a 12-minute segment on naps.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I will say, and I know we mentioned it, but the two apps, Huckleberry and both Napper, were definitely important for us at different stages in the nap game. And
Napper was amazing for us to start.
And there's also the nice thing too. I know Huckleberry does this. And there's different sites that do this too, but they'll give you nap schedules. Like it doesn't mean you have to follow, but it kind of gives you a nice guideline to know what you're supposed to look for, and you can adjust from there. But I always like looking at that because sometimes you forget, and then you're like, my baby's 8 months now. Like, how often is she supposed to be sleeping? What's supposed to be going on? So stuff like that's always nice because, again, I didn't really know. You might kind of get the feel like, hey, I think we need to go from 3 to 2 naps. But then you look it up and you're like, no, it might be something else going on because it's probably too early. Or you go, nope, this is exactly when I should be looking for that. Maybe we need to start having that conversation. So there's lots of good information out there when it comes to naps, but they can be your best friend, Brandon. I won't lie to you. When I have Peyton by myself for the whole day, sometimes nap time is great because that means Dad can get some work done around the house. He can do some laundry, some dishes, and he might even be able to sit on the couch for 10 minutes. And so it's not
You know when
bad.
else nap time is great? When they're a little older, like Bryce and Peyton, and you didn't sleep well the night before, and on top of it, your kids don't like to cuddle you like they do as newborns. So if your listeners like Jason out there who has a newborn, enjoy those cuddles because they get older, don't want them. But guess when they do, nap time. So. Sometimes Dad might sneak a quick little hour nap with Bryce.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Or even if your bedtime routine is to rock them before putting them down, which is what I do with Peyton. That's some of my favorite time because I get to, even if it's 5 minutes just to rock her. I probably don't even need to do it honestly, but I like it because it's nice. Like you said, they're all cuddled up to you, snuggling, and you can just spend that little bit of time with them before you put them down. So that is another good reason for nap time. Also,
that's when they're at their cutest.
Yeah, getting them up from a nap or when they first wake up from a nap is usually pretty cute too. They got kind of that bed head.
Oh my
and they
goodness.
look up and they're all excited to see you, like they hadn't seen you in freaking
I'm
days.
glad you brought that up. Yeah, They act like a dog when they
They
like
do.
I could walk out of a room and come back in and Riley gets super excited.
Yeah.
But like if I'm going to wake Bryce up for a nap, he just will pop his head up, look over at me, biggest smile on his face. Now he's making sounds, saying "dada."
Oh yeah,
Love it.
Peyton just starts laughing half the time. I'm like, "What are you laughing at?" Like I just walked in the room, but she starts cracking up. It's great.
Well, I love when they wake themselves up, and then you can just kind of watch them on. We both have Nannets. I'm sitting there just watching Bryce. His routine's the same every time. He goes over, hits his little aquarium thing, hits the star, lets the music play, and then he just talks and giggles to himself for as long as he basically can take it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, Peyton was rocking her baby this morning and patting her on the back. I was watching her while I was at work, and I was like,
She
what is
loves
she
that
doing?
baby.
She loves that baby. So that hopefully bodes well for us. Oh, actually, Brant, you know what? We're not going to do this week. We're going to give the next week.
I know what
pay
you're
attention,
thinking,
and we might reveal what the Lusky
Suspense.
House is having. I was meaning to do that this week, but I think we're going to wait till next week. We're going to do it early in an episode next week. So remind me, and I'll make sure I do that next
I
week.
can't wait to find out, Jerry.
Yeah, you might already know. But Brandon, let's give the people a dad joke that's actually worth hearing. Are you ready for this?
Oh, wow. Okay, excuse me for trying to be topical. I think that's more difficult. They'll appreciate it.
All right, Brandon.
This better be funny.
What does a nosy pepper do?
A nosy pepper
Yep.
do. What does a nosy pepper do?
Mm-hmm.
Jalapeno.
It gets jalapeno business.
I guess jalapeno business.
Jalapeno business.
Yeah, mine was still better.
Mine was
was
literally a
I like the
Brandon
accent
joke.
you
You had
had.
like a it's accentuated
Jalapeno
like,
business.
Jalapeno.
Jalapeno
You even said it
business.
afterwards. Because you liked it.
Whatever.
Jalapeno business.
Get him out of here.
Anyways, please like us on all the social media pages. Tell your friends about us. Put us on Reddit and anything else so you can get dads to listen to us. We appreciate anyone and everyone who does. Give us
Shout out to the new dads out there.
yes, all the new dads out there, or the second-time dads, or the third-time dads that maybe haven't done it in a minute. Whatever it is, we appreciate all you
second
guys.
and third, huh?
Well, I'm not third, but I mean, we might have a couple of seconds here. Who knows? But if you haven't already, like us on all our social media pages.
We're not pregnant.
Message us, comment on our stuff, write us a review, all that kind of stuff. But until next time, when I might reveal what we are having, I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.